You know, the person everyone overlooks, the one that the entire office treats like festive wallpaper. Not because they're being mean, but because they're run ragged at this time of year, and this person, as far as they're concerned, is just a temp. So they don't have time to, well, be interested or even, sadly, nice. Yep, today's Christmas story is all about them and the tiny move that quietly saved Christmas. Grab a brew, grab a blanket, grab your slightly burnt mince pies. I'm Caroline Esterson, and this is Little Moves, Big Careers, your Christmas edition. Small stories, big lessons, and absolutely no corporate tinsel. It was the 12th of December, that weird, chaotic fortnight when nobody knows if they're working, winding down, or just showing up for the mince pies. At Larkwell Thompson & Co., a perfectly average consultancy with deeply above average levels of drama, Christmas prep was in full swing. And by full swing, I mean the senior partners had vanished to client lunches, the project teams were knee-deep in year-end panic, and facilities were desperately trying to stop Martin from hanging tinsel over the fire doors again. Enter Holly. Yeah, really. A 19-year-old Christmas temp who'd arrived that morning, complete with jingly earrings, a nervous smile, and the naive optimism of someone who genuinely believed her first office job would involve things like guidance and warm beverages that didn't taste of despair. She imagined this consultancy would be, well, consultative, professional, glossy, the kind of place where people said things like circling back and drank water from glass bottles. Instead, the moment she stepped in, she was hit by the unmistakable December energy of corporate Britain, a frantic attempt to clear every task, fix every mess, and please every client before the clock struck out of office on the 22nd. Phones ringing, people speed walking with armfuls of pitch decks, someone shouting, "Who moved the Q4 master file?" in a tone of person discovering both betrayal and gluten at the same time. Holly was handed a lanyard, a login that didn't work, and a mug that said "World's Best Intern" in Comic Sans. Still sticky, by the way, which felt like a warning from the universe, but she tried to remain positive. Her official support person was Gordon, a man who'd been at the consultancy since the dawn of time. Gordon gave her the 5-second tour. Printer's there, kitchen's broken, avoid the 4th floor, don't ask, before leaning in with what he clearly believed was extremely sage advice. Keep your head down, Holly. Do what you're told and just don't get involved. With that, he adjusted his Santa hat with all the joy of a man attending his own disciplinary hearing and disappeared into a meeting. So Holly sat at her desk, alone, untrained, armed with only a half-working computer, but still eager as she hadn't yet learned that office life is 40% emails, 40% chaos, and 20% pretending the photocopier is definitely not your responsibility. Within an hour, she had answered 6 phone calls that she didn't understand, photocopied a 78-page document that jammed twice and produced one sheet with a mysterious shoe print on it, made tea for a man who said, "I take it exactly how I like it in that mug, you'll know it when you see it," and been shouted at by a consultant who assumed Holly was responsible for the Wi-Fi being slow. She'd arrived at 8:38 early, thinking, this will look great on my CV. And then within minutes, she concluded the consultancy wasn't powered by strategy, just adrenaline and the fear of missing a deadline, a bit like a shaken snow globe. But she had noticed things, because she wasn't drowning in end-of-year nonsense. She was watching it, the frantic whispers, the repeated questions, the constant low-level panic. Everyone asking the same things, everyone assuming someone else was doing the basics. And that is where the real story starts. Over the week, Holly noticed something odd. Every single morning around 10:06, people would appear at her desk in a state of mild panic. Has the proposal for the Benedict's team been printed yet? Did anyone send the spreadsheets to finance? Has the pitch deck gone to compliance? Is the meeting room booked, or are we gambling again? She didn't know the answers. Nobody had told her. But she did know this. Everyone was asking the same questions about the same deadlines for the same project, and everyone seemed to think someone else had sorted the basics. But guess what? No one had. On Thursday at 10:06, almost on the dot, yet another consultant sprinted to her desk, looking like he'd been unexpectedly pursued by the neighbour's staffy who just wanted one more cuddle. Holly, please, tell me the catering order is in for tomorrow's client showcase. Holly blinked. What catering order? He turned a shade of grey, usually seen on people who've realised the rail replacement bus service is their only way home on a cold, rainy winter evening, and their umbrella is still sitting in the office kitchen where they'd left it. Oh, God. Cue panic, cue flapping, cue people shouting, who was meant to do this? In the way people do when they secretly know it was them. Now, most temps would have quietly watched the chaos unfold, the sort of wide-eyed freeze Great Aunt Madge used to call standing still until trouble passes. But Holly wasn't wired that way. She'd been raised to believe that if something was going wrong and no one claimed it, you at least made a list. And honestly, she wanted to enjoy a minimum wage job a bit, or at least get Christmas drinks out of it. So she made a move. Not a big one, not a heroic movie moment, just a small 2mm difference decision. She opened a brand new spreadsheet. At the top, she wrote what everyone keeps asking. Then she built 3 columns: task, due date, who thinks they're doing it. Then she listened. All morning, all afternoon. She caught the repeated tasks, cross-referenced the deadlines, matched names with the responsibilities, spotted the gaping holes. By 4 p.m, she built something the company desperately needed but didn't even realise: the actual list of things that must happen for tomorrow, not to go full Christmas Eve at Tesco. She printed it. She walked into the showcase prep room, the lion's den, where consultants were arguing about whether the client would prefer salted caramel truffles or something less basic. Holly cleared her throat. I made a thing that you might need. She placed the list in the middle of the table like she was revealing the results of the Secret Santa drawer to a room full of people who took it far too seriously. Silence. Eyes scanning. Realisation dawning. Wait, has anyone ordered the catering? No. Oh my God, who's printing the packs? No one. Why didn't we think of this earlier? We did. But then Simon said he thought Megan had done it. I never said that. Yes, you did, mate. Literally yesterday. Oh, within minutes, everyone had a plan. People moved. Tasks were claimed. Crisis was averted. And the next day, the showcase ran smoothly. The partners were thrilled. The client was even impressed. And everyone was whispering the same thing. Whew, honestly, thank God for the temp. Did Holly get credit? A bonus? A contract? Of course not. This is corporate life after all, not a Hallmark film. But she did get something more powerful. She became the person everyone trusted because she noticed what no one else was looking at, because she solved the problems before it blew up, because she made the smallest possible move that made the biggest possible difference. And that is how a Christmas temp outsmarted the organisation chart. Holly didn't have authority. She didn't have insider knowledge. She didn't even have status. But what she did have was awareness. And frankly, awareness is really underrated, especially in December when everyone's running on mulled wine and fumes. And here's what the research says. 1. Pattern recognition is a trainable superpower. Kahneman, we've talked about him before in episode 3, and Klein both found that expertise often comes from simply noticing repeated patterns sooner than others. Holly wasn't experienced, but she also wasn't distracted. She saw the repeating signals and was prepared to take action, even though it wasn't strictly her job. Secondly, outsiders see what insiders miss. Psychologists talk about cognitive fixation. When you're too close to the work, you literally stop seeing the obvious. That's why outsiders like Holly often make the clearest observations, because they haven't normalised the nonsense yet. And number 3, initiative creates visibility. So we have the idea here that people remember the person who cuts through the chaos with clarity. It's not loud, it's not political manoeuvring, it's competence made visible, and it started with one tiny move. Let me just write down what everyone keeps asking. A 2mm difference. That's our career flywheel moment in action. And we'll really be digging into this flywheel in the new year for you. So here are your key messages to reflect on.
Small shifts, sharp impact. These are quick-fire career moves, real things you can do before your next coffee refill.
1. If you feel powerless, start by noticing. Look for the things that everyone else is ignoring. 2. Clarity beats chaos every single time. And 3. You don't need permission to make things better. You just need awareness and initiative. And of course, if you are a leader, are you making the most of new people coming into your team? You may be wonderfully surprised by the insights they can share with you. So here's your quick move. Tomorrow morning, pick one chaotic process, a repeated question or recurring team pain point and map it. Just map it. That's the first 2mm move. And it might make you the Holly of your workplace, minus the Comic Sans mug, of course. If you enjoyed this episode, hit follow and leave a review. Think of it like gifting me a digital tin of Quality Street, only I don't have to pretend to like the Strawberry Delights anymore. And if work turns into a festive bin fire of people problems, you know where to find us. We fix that stuff for a living. Just email me, caroline@inspireyourgenius.com with the word help in the subject line. So, Merry Christmas, legends. Remember, make your move, even if it's tiny, especially if it's tiny.